characteristics of good hypotheses. So the literature review, we were saying the literature review helps you find reasonable ideas. There are no strict rules for plausibility because ideas once seen as strange can later turn out to be correct. And specificity, the fourth characteristic of a good hypothesis. A hypothesis should be clear and detailed. It should not be vague. It should show the direction of the relationship. Who increases, who decreases. The hypothesis should show the direction of the relationship between variables. In the last class, I told you here on the board, I made arrow diagram, arrow diagram. In the arrow diagram, the arrows show the direction of the relationship between variables. So a good hypothesis shows the direction of relationship between variables. Example. We are on slide 57. Income is higher in urban areas than rural. Income is higher in urban areas than rural. What is the direction of the relationship here? Income depends on the geography. Okay, so geography is determining the income. So geography, locality is the independent variable and income is dependent. That is dependent on the locality. So it is the direction. You must clearly state which variable affects which and how. Positive relationship. Both variables increase or decrease together. If there is a positive relationship between two variables, between the independent and dependent variables, then either both increase or both decrease. It is a positive relationship. Example, if there is more education, there is higher income. So if education increases, income increases. The relationship is positive or negative? The relationship is positive among both the variables. Negative relationship between variables. In negative relationship, one variable increases, the other decreases, or vice versa. If one decreases, the other increases. Example, if there is more income, if you have more income, there is less concern about public transport. If there's no public transport, you can have your own conveyance. You can have your bike, e-bike, you can have your car, okay? If you have good income. But if someone is poor, does not have much money, public transport is more important for them, okay? So, more income, less concern about public transport. So, income is increasing, the concern is decreasing. It is a negative relationship between two variables. So sometimes your hypothesis shows a positive relationship. Sometimes your hypothesis shows a negative relationship between variables. Both relationships are possible. Concepts must be clearly defined. The concepts in your hypothesis must be clearly defined. And avoid vague words. Avoid vague words. Weak example. Personality affects political attitudes. Personality affects political attitudes. Here, personality is not clear. What kind of personality? Okay, so it is vague. It is not clear. It is not a good hypothesis. Better example. Higher self-esteem leads to less support for isolationism. If someone has higher self-esteem, they are likely to be more social. If someone has lower self-esteem, they are less likely to be social. Okay? Make ideas narrower and clearer. Make ideas narrower. Make ideas narrower or clearer, so they can be measured properly. So they can be measured properly. You belong to this class? You are in this class? Be serious. Pay attention. So they can be measured properly. Make ideas narrower and clearer, so they can be measured properly. Replace unclear statements with precise ones. Replace unclear statements with precise ones. Example. Example improvements. Voting depends on information, specify type and direction. Okay, in this hypothesis, voting depends on information. Okay, it shows a direction that voting is affected by information. So information is the independent variable and voting is the dependent variable. So it is showing the direction of influence. What is influencing what? Geography matters. Explain how exactly. If you say in your hypothesis geography matters, then you should explain how exactly geography matters. Fifth, fifth characteristic of good hypothesis, correspondence to testing method. Correspondence to testing method. The hypothesis should match how you plan to test it. The hypothesis should match how you plan to test it. It should be consistent with your data method. Your hypothesis should be consistent with the method you will use for data collection. Example, time-based testing. As literacy increases, democracy increases. So literacy increases. You can check the records, official records of the government. What was the literacy rate 10 years back? What was the literacy rate 20 years back? What is the literacy rate now in a locality, in a city, in a country, okay? And then you can check the level of democracy and you can test it. As literacy increases, democracy increases. So it is a good hypothesis. It suggests that studying changes over time. Studying changes over time. You will look at the literacy rate in 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, like this, over time. Example, comparison at one time. Countries with higher literacy are more democratic. Now, here you are not going into history. You are taking 2, 3 countries at the same time and you are comparing them. Countries with higher literacy are more democratic. If the literacy rate is higher in South Korea and Japan, and literacy rate is lower in India and Pakistan, it means democracy is better in South Korea and Japan. That's it. So at the same time, at one time, you take the data. It suggests comparing different countries at one time. The wording should clearly show what kind of data you will use. Whether you compare over time or compare across cases, across countries, across cities, across universities, across organizations. This is like this. Or you compare over time, different years, different decades, different centuries. Testability, the last characteristic, sixth characteristic of a good hypothesis. A hypothesis must be possible to test. A hypothesis must be possible to test. You must be able to collect data to prove or disprove it. You must be able to collect data to prove it or disprove it. If data cannot be collected, the hypothesis is useless for research. If data cannot be collected, the hypothesis is useless for research. Example of difficult hypothesis: needs data from childhood and adulthood. Now look, if a person is 50 years old, you are conducting research on that person, or a group of persons, 10, 20 people who are 50 years old or 60 years old. Now you need data on their childhood. It means going 50 years back. It is difficult. It is very difficult. Okay? So it would be difficult. Someone is calling. But such data may not exist. Such data may not exist. Practical limits matter. Time matters. Money matters. Money is important. Data availability, it is important. Some hypotheses remain untested because data is too hard to get. Some hypotheses cannot be tested. They remain untested. Avoid tautologies. Now, tautology is repetition. Repetition of idea means tautology. Words are different, but idea is the same. What is it called? Repeat with me. What is it called? Tautology. Say it. Tautology. Tautology, yes. When both sides mean almost the same thing. Example, if there is less support, then there is less stability. If there is less support to a political system, then the system is less stable. So both sides mean the same thing. Less support, less stability, there is no much different. Hard to test because both ideas overlap. So it is very hard to test less support and less stability because ideas are same. Concepts must be measured separately using different methods. Concepts must be measured using different methods. Concepts must be measured separately using different methods. Good research avoids such problems. Good research avoids such problems. A good hypothesis must be empirical, general, plausible, specific, consistent with data, and testable. Weak hypotheses create problems for both researcher and reader. Strong hypotheses help build useful scientific knowledge.